Hi, my name is Eric Ko. I'm the current maintainer of the darcs project, and today I'd like to talk about what we've been up to in the past couple of years. So where we are now here in 2010, and also where we'd like to go in the near and somewhat more distant future. So if you're not too familiar with darcs, darcs is a revision control system, much like Git, Mercurial, or Subversion. Um, in other words, it's a piece of software that helps you to keep track of and to manage changes that you and your collaborators make to your files. So these would mostly be text files of one sort or another, for example, source code or other kinds of written documents. The thing that makes Dark special with respect to other vision control systems is that it places an emphasis not so much on the state of your work as it evolves over time, but on the actual modifications themselves. So we call these patches. This special emphasis on patches is something which, in my opinion, makes darcs both very easy to use and also very powerful. Anyway, the main question is basically, well, what have we, the darcs team, been doing these past 2 years? And this is what I'd like to address in this talk. The way I'm going to approach the problem is by looking individually at three themes of development. So first I'll take a look at performance, which is what we've been working on most recently, and then move on to reliability, and finally to the question of usability. So what I'll do is as I explore each theme will be to sort of move along a kind of timeline where I'll first talk about changes which we've made to darcs which will be available now. And by now what I mean is in the current darcs beta, which we hope to become the darcs 2.5 release fairly soon. And having done that, I'll move on to work that is going to be available soon. So these are things that we are currently doing, which we have some preliminary results for, but which still have some details to be hammered out, and which we hope will be in an actual darcs release within a year or so. And finally, I would like to sort of move on to work that we haven't started yet, but which are things that we'd like to do in the future after we've addressed our more immediate problems. Okay, so let's start with performance. So while darcs may be easy to use or powerful, it historically has been very slow. Now, the good news about the slowness is that it's not just sort of one massive undefined blob of bad performance. It's actually more of a set of various aspects of darcs behavior whose performance issues can be addressed independently of each other. One example of this is the sort of set of operations which we call repository local operations which compare the work that you're currently doing against the last saved state. So these would be commands like record command, which creates patches from the work that you're doing, or what's new, which shows you what you've done that you haven't saved, or revert, which allows you to just get rid of some of this unsaved work. The work was done in the context of Pater Rajkai's 2009 Google Summer of Code project. And what Pater has basically done is, first of all, to clean up the darcs code by taking the representation that we have of file trees and doing a nice, clean, very principled rewrite, and just sort of completely isolating that from darcs and just releasing it as a separate package which can sort of evolve and be improved on its own. Secondly, Pater has identified a couple of subtle design bugs that were causing darcs to do a lot more work, especially a lot more work interacting with the hard disk than we were really expecting it to. So as a result of this cleanup, this re-implementation, and also these sort of subtle design fixes, the what we've been able to do is basically take the darcs record command and turn it from something which used to take several seconds into something which should hopefully take under a second. So what we have here is a benchmark showing the darcs record operation on a copy we have of the Glasgow Haskell compiler, where we've just made some changes in files, and then we just ran darcs record to see how long it took. And in this particular example, the record operation would take something like 2 seconds, and at least in the version of darcs from a couple of years ago, and through various improvements by Patter, should now take somewhere over half a second. The good news is that for some people who have multiple branches of the same repository, they might find that with sort of an older version of darcs, doing a record would take a lot more than 2 seconds, and this is due to one of the bugs that Patter identified. This also has been addressed, and what you see is behavior which looks a lot more like the kind of bars that you see on this graph. Okay, so improving repository local operations is something that was one of the first things that we've done. And the reason why I think it's important that we've done this is that, well, commands like darcs record and darcs what's new are things that you as a darcs user will sort of encounter on a day-to-day basis. You do a little bit of work, you save it changes. You do a little bit more work, you save it changes. So what you really want is for these operations to be fast enough to not be distracting, right? And I hope we have achieved this, and I hope that as you try the new darcs beta or try darcs 2.5, you will find that basically these commands will no longer be noticeable. You just won't realize that you have to wait for them. Okay, so that's performance in the short term. Now, looking a little bit further into the medium term, we have also tackled the darcs get command. So get is a command that basically allows you to sort of copy somebody else's repository, whether it's on an HTTP server or over SSH, or just even on a local file system. The sort of unfortunate thing for us about get is that on the one hand it was very, very slow, and on the other hand it was a command that basically everybody who uses darcs for the first time encounters. This is the first thing you see about darcs, and this is the first impression that we give you. In fact, I would tend to suspect that when people who aren't too familiar with darcs, when people sort of complain that wow, darcs is really slow, what they're really saying is, oh wow, I tried to do a darcs get over HTTP and it was horrendously slow, which it is. Okay, so what have you done to address this? Well, first of all, let's look at the problem. The reason why get was so slow is basically that the approach that we were taking is extremely naive. We just have a darcs repository. It consists of a lot of files, let's say 10,000, 20,000 files for a large repository, and we just sort of store it online on just in a directory somewhere, and we expect the HTTP server to serve it up. So that's a lot of files to be fetching one by one by one by one. To address this, we have introduced an optimization where we basically bundle up a lot of these files into what are effectively two giant tarballs, so that instead of fetching a lot of tiny files, you're just fetching a couple of really big files. And let's see what the results of these are. These are timings for the darcs get operation from HTTP ://darcs.net. So this is the darcs repository. It used to be the case that getting the whole repository would take something like 40 minutes, including the history, just 40 minutes to fetch everything. But now this operation takes only 3 minutes, right? Another nice result is that, well, actually there's also this variant of the get command, which is called the sort of lazy get, which only fetches the bare minimum of the repository that it needs. This is what most people tend to use. And then sort of fetches anything else that it needs on demand. This would take something like 2 minutes, which was not nearly as bad as the 40 minutes from before, but it was still enough to make people impatient. Now this takes something like 11 seconds, which we think will help people get started a lot faster. So I'm out of time now. I hope to see you in the next segment where I'll continue talking about performance and hopefully reliability next. Thanks.